Right, so it's great to see so many people here to learn more about showering. This is something that I wouldn't have expected. So this research is not only about showering, it's about water conservation, it's about energy conservation, it's about reducing carbon emissions in the hospitality sector. So Alicia already introduced me, so I'm gonna move on to the presentation itself. So I always like to start with why we did this research. And I have to say that everything started through my PhD. This research is part of my PhD here at Surrey. And before starting the PhD, I was clear about something. I wanted to do something that created some impact beyond academia, some impact in the real world, and that's the reason why I developed this research in collaboration with, of course, my supervisors at the moment. Right. So why this research is important? Water scarcity is a global problem. Growing water scarcity has become, in fact, one of the most pressing challenges for sustainable development. According to the World Resources Institute, 25% of the world's population is currently exposed to extremely high water stress levels. And the world is projected to face a 40% shortfall between forecasted demand and available supply of water by 2030, just in 5 years. So this means that by 2050, projections suggest that 60% of the global population will be suffering extremely high water stress levels. Of course, this might lead to increased global competition for water, escalating tensions and escalating social inequalities, right? So this is not only an environmental problem, it's our own problem as well. It's a human problem. So in this slide, I am reflecting about the situation in the UK because it's where I work and where I'm most familiar. But what is happening here in England, I believe is similar. Similar trends apply in other countries in the global north. So here in England, we have expected a shortage by 2050 of 5 billion liters of fresh water a day. And half of it, so around 2.5 billion liters, need to come through consuming less water. We need to consume less water. So this means moving from the current around 142 liters per person a day to 110 liters per person a day. In this slide, on the left, you can see the water consumption in the different areas in England for the period 2021-2022. And one of the main issues in England is the amount of water that is being wasted through leakages. And this is reflected in the figure in the middle in green, also for the period 2021-2022. And as you can see there, a lot of regions in England waste more than 22% of the already scarce fresh water through leakages. So we also know that most water consumption at home comes from showers. Around 33% of the water is consumed through showers. And therefore, we focused this research on showering behavior because, as I said at the beginning, we wanted to create impact in the real world. Now, how this affects tourism? Well, water scarcity is also obviously a tourism problem. And although tourism uses between 3.5 and 5.8% of global available fresh water, it is highly dependent on water and related ecosystems for a wide range of other products and services, like, for instance, food or clothing and so on. So lack of water represents a threat to tourism destinations around the globe, especially as tourism is concentrated in specific locations such as islands or the coastline and so on that are already suffering from water scarcity. Moreover, as we know, tourism is very seasonal, with most of it happening during summer, further increasing the deployment of the already scarce water available. 68% of the sector's water demand comes from countries with between medium-high and extremely high stress levels. As an example, you might remember what happened years ago, I think it was around 2015, 2017, in Cape Town, the so-called Day Zero, when Cape Town was about to run out of fresh water. So beyond all the social and environmental issues that this caused, the destination lost around $65 million in tourism revenue. Around 81% of the water used by tourism occurs indirectly through their value chain. But tourism accommodations also are responsible for direct water consumption. And in fact, research by Gosling in 2015 indicates that around 350 liters per person and day are consumed by tourists, mostly because of the swimming pools, spas, gardens, kitchens, laundry, and also, of course, tourist consumption. Remember that the aim in England is 110 liters per person a day, and here we are talking about 350 liters per tourist per day. And as you can see in this figure, in some Asian countries, tourists can use anywhere between 1.5 and 8 times more water than a local resident. So our focus on water is not only, our focus on showering is not only because of water, but also because of the energy and the carbon emissions. Usually people take hot showers, right? And this means a lot of energy to heat the water. And that nexus between water, energy, and carbon is greatly overlooked. Just as a reference, from a recent study conducted in over 20,000 households in Melbourne, in Australia, it was found that the carbon emissions from domestic water heating accounted for 3.8% of Australia's emissions. And as a reference, Australians' domestic and international aviation emissions contributed to around 4.1. So domestic water 3.8 and aviation 4.1% of Australia's total emissions. So they are quite similar. In consequence, water consumption in tourism is under research, and the sector does not yet recognize the urgency to tackle this problem. So based on this global problem, we designed a technology-assisted environmental behavior change intervention to water conservation during showers in tourist accommodations. So I'm going to go briefly through the literature review because I want to spend a bit more time on the methodology. So as this research is all about encouraging or fostering pro-environmental behavior, let me start with the definition of pro-environmental behavior. This is any behavior that minimizes the negative impact on the environment or even benefit the environment. So when we are talking about pro-environmental behavior or about human behavior in general, we have three key elements. One is our personal factors, so personal attitudes. Another one, our own habits. And the third one is the contextual factors, the environment where we are, basically, right? So we can summarize also these three into two elements. One is the person, all related to the person, our own values, our own worldviews, and so on. And the other element could be the situation. So the person and the situation. Right. So human behavior is complex, and this is shown in this figure. This figure represents the comprehensive action determination model, and it shows the different personal factors from the three most used behavioral theories to explain pro-environmental behavior. So the constructs from the value belief norm, one of the theories, are indicated in green. Those in dark green are also part of the norm activation model. And the constructs from the theory of plant behavior are indicated in red. So from all these personal factors, this research focuses on values, both selfless and selfish values, because values are very relevant psychological constructs. They are universal and they strongly influence the other personal factors, as you can see in the figure. We also accounted for the role of habits by developing the interventions in non-habitual contexts, such as tourism accommodations. In this way, we disrupted the influence of the habit. In addition, we used smart technology, I will present it in a bit, to provide real-time feedback to users during their showers to help them disrupt their own habits. And this is relevant because habits are automated behaviors that can block the influence of other personal factors. Also, based on the theory of human values, and you can see the figure reflected here, we grouped two sets of opposing values. On one side, selfless values on the top, represented by biospheric and altruistic values, and selfish values, represented by egoistic and hedonistic values. In simple terms, a person with salient selfless values will act or will behave because of others, mostly. Whereas a person with salient egoistic values will act mostly because of their own interest. Other insights from the literature show that feedback, providing real-time feedback, can be effective to influence and change behavior. Persuasive communications can also be effective to foster pro-environmental behavior in a hedonic context, such as tourism, but this is under research. Technology can also be effective to foster pro-environmental behavior, but it looks like it's not enough. We need to also change ourselves. We need to change our own behavior if we want to really tackle the huge environmental issues that we are facing. And also research indicates that combining different behavioral strategies or intervention strategies is more effective than using them in isolation. So for this research, we used goal setting, anchoring, framing, and priming. And last, the level of effort required to perform a particular behavior is important for that particular behavior. And I will explain this in a bit. So therefore, the aim of this research was to explore the effectiveness of persuasive communications to encourage tourism accommodation guests to have a more pro-environmental shower behavior. And for this, we used smart technology, we used behavioral change interventions, and we did an experiment, a field experiment. And this is the topic of the next part, the methodology. And for that, I want to bring to your attention this paper was just published, I think, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, in the Journal of Tourism, Journal of Sustainable Tourism. And the title, I think, is clear. If we want to learn about real behavior, we need to measure real behavior. And this is basically what we did through our covered field experiment. So we measure causality. We wanted to know the effect of different persuasive communication messages in shower duration. So we measure real behavior. We measure how long showers were in tourism and tourist accommodations. The participants were randomly allocated by the accommodations themselves to the different conditions. The participants were not aware of being part of an experiment. So in this way, we could collect their real behavior. And we, as researchers, we were not aware of which participants were in which conditions, right? Because, as I said before, the accommodations during the check-in assign the participants to the different conditions. Also important, the participants, in this case, normal real guests, had no financial motivation to save water because, as you know, everything was included in the fee, right? So the energy and the water was not the savings, the financial savings from energy and water was not a motivation for them. And also, they had no peer pressure at all because showering behavior is a very private behavior. It happens inside the cubicle, right? So no one really knows what's going on inside. So there's no peer pressure on this behavior. Right. This is the technology that we used. It's called Aguardio. That was the first version of the technology that was developed by a startup company from Denmark. And it's basically a smart shower meter, and it's able to detect when a shower is taking place in real time and display a timer when the showering is taking place. So basically, there are 2 elements here. We have the display and we have the sensor. The sensor had humidity measurement, a water sound detector, and a temperature measurement. So based on these 3 different measures, was able to detect, as I said, showers in real time. And then the sensor was connected via Bluetooth with the display, and when the shower was taking place, the display was showing the timer. So no colors, no sounds, nothing, just a timer, right? And here on the right, you can see how the technology was set up in the cubicle, the sensor on the top, and then the display just at eye level. Right. So the first thing that we did was to engage hotels, engage tourist accommodations, right? So we had to develop a kind of a convincing 2-page summary about why this research was valuable for them. So of course, when I presented to the different hotel companies, I was not talking about in terms of like a traditional academic, but I was focused very much on the benefits for the hotels. Right, and that was the way to convince them to allow us to, to set up this experiment in their own businesses. So we managed to engage 6 different accommodations from 3 countries. Actually, an additional one from the US, but and I didn't report that in the paper. So 6 tourism accommodations from different countries, from 3 countries. As you can see, different locations, city, beach, and different comfort levels. We had hostels. We have one all-inclusive hotel. We have hotels as well, 2 stars and 4 stars. The second step was to design and to validate the persuasive messages. And these are the messages that we developed, and we validated them through different series of focus groups and interviews. And in these messages, we wanted to include the different behavioral interventions like framing and priming, and also anchoring and goal setting. But let me focus on the blue ones. The blue ones are the two key moderators in this research. One of them is the value motivation. So as I mentioned before, we had two different values, selfless values and selfish values. So we wanted to design messages priming these two different values. And the other moderator in blue is the level of effort. So low effort and high effort. So basically, if we read the first message, it says, water is essential for life. A typical shower here has water running for 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Will you beat the clock? Water conservation starts with you. So basically, this message is a selfless, appealing message with low anchor, the 30 minutes. The opposite message with the high anchor is 4 minutes, 50 seconds. And the selfish equivalent message is you can choose to feel great. So basically appealing to the person's own interest. So these are the different 4 messages, 4 persuasive messages. And of course, we had also an informative message with no kind of neutral message. Right, and the third step was to create the stickers with the different messages. Here you can see them, and these stickers they were placed in the shower cubicle next to the devices. And the fourth step was to design the experiment and to install everything, to install the devices and to install the different stickers. So let's go in detail into this. So the first research question was, how long do showers last in tourist accommodation? So basically, this research question was answered based on our pilot study and also based on the control conditions. In the control conditions, we had only the sensor installed in the shower cubicle, as you can see here in the image on the right. No display, no real-time feedback provided, just the sensor collecting data and sending the data automatically to the cloud via Wi-Fi. So in this way, we could know the normal duration of showers in tourist accommodations. Second research question was, how effective is real-time feedback during showers? Only the device, no messages. So for that, we had 2 conditions, the control condition, as I presented before, and the intervention condition. In this case, with the display in the cubicle, providing real-time feedback. And that experiment that was developed in only one of the tourist accommodations. And the main experiment looked to answer these questions. How effective is real-time feedback and the different messages during showers? And again, we had the control condition with no feedback provided, and then the intervention condition with both the sensor, the display, and next to the display, the different messages, the 5 different messages. And we did that in all tourism accommodations, installing 88 devices, so basically 88 rooms. Right, so let's move now into the results. I'm checking the timing. Yeah, okay. So answering the first question, how long do showers last in tourist accommodations? You might be surprised with these results. Showers are not so long as we might think. People are showering quite fast, actually, in some cases faster than at home, maybe because people, they want to enjoy the outside, not the inside, right? So on average, showers lasted 320 seconds, just slightly more than 5 minutes. And of course, we saw differences between the different accommodations. So the shortest showers were 289 and the longest 366, but still not really long showers, to be honest, compared with the data that we have from households. Right, second question, how effective is real-time feedback during showers? Was that effective? Yes, it was effective. Real-time feedback achieved savings of almost 26%. So basically, showers were reduced by 26%. Right, and that was significant. Let me highlight again that the participants were not aware of being part of an experiment. Participants were not financially motivated to save water. They reduced their showers because of the effect of having a real-time feedback there. And now the main experiment, how effective is real-time feedback plus the different messages. I didn't mention before, but for the analysis, we used a random intercept regression model. So, and all the data set and code is completely available in the paper. In the paper, there's a link, and you can download the data, and you can see the code. I will provide later on a QR code for the paper if you are interested. So this figure represents the effect plots based on the estimated regression models, and the estimated for the control conditions in both interventions are represented by the red dashed lines. And the odds ratios are indicated as the blue dots, and the blue lines indicate 95% confidence intervals. For instance, in the first intervention, only with the real-time feedback, the odds ratio was 0.74 exactly, which means almost 26% reduction over the control condition, right? So the most effective, as you can see in the figure, the most effective condition was the one with the selfless plus low anchor message representing high effort, achieving a 23.55 reduction in shower time. So if we look at the hypothesis, the first hypothesis indicated that feedback efficacy in terms of task performance is determined by whether selfish or selfless values are prime. So we can see that appealing to both values was effective over the control condition, achieving different, the messages appealing to selfless values was more effective, with a reduction of 21.87%. You can see here under change odds ratio, 21.87%, the selfless message against the control condition. But differences between the two values, selfish versus selfless, were not significant. Second hypothesis, goals that reflect different levels of effort to comply with result in different levels of task performance. Again, the messages appealing to, messages with implying a high level of effort or a low level of effort were both significant. And actually with more or less the same effect, almost 20% reduction in shower time. But then the comparison between high and low was, again, not significant. And then the main experiment, the combination of goal effort, high versus low, and value orientation, selfless versus selfish. We can see here at the beginning that each of the messages was significant, statistically significant. Each of the messages achieved a reduction in shower time, including the the neutral informative message, achieving 16.40% reduction in shower time. And also we can see the difference between the message appealing to selfless values and low anchor, and the message appealing to selfish values and low anchor as well was significant. And the last hypothesis, combining continuous real-time eco-feedback with persuasive messages significantly increases task performance. Yes, the answer that was significant as well. Combining all the different messages against the control achieved a savings reductions of 20%, but the informative message, the neutral message against the control achieved savings of or reductions of 16%. The difference between both were not significant. Right, so what is the impact of that? This is the message on the screen. That's the most effective message. And that message achieved savings of 10 liters, more or less 10 liters of hot water per shower. Remember that this is not only about water, it's about energy, and it's about carbon emissions. Right, and I'm finishing. What are the key takeaway messages? One, real-time feedback is effective, was effective in influencing and changing showering behavior, even in a hedonic context where users had no financial motivation to reduce consumption. Priming selfless values was more effective than priming selfish values. This regardless of the level of effort. The effectiveness of priming selfish values is affected by the level of effort. With the low effort is more effective. And the opposite for the selfless values. It's also affected by the level of effort, but the high effort is more effective. So overall, persuasive messages can be effective, but they need to be carefully designed if we want to optimize their effectiveness. And also another key learning is that the use of the technology, yes, can be effective, but can be improved as well by incorporating more human aspects into the intervention. So as a result of this research, we could see the guests, real guests, are ready to save water, they are ready to save energy, they are ready to save carbon emissions from their own showers, if hoteliers provide support for them to do so. And these are the publications. On the left is the academic paper, and on the right is a shorter version of that academic paper published in the conversation.